Hiya, this is like a special video I thought I would do. I wanted to get it out for last week, but I wasn't able to. I could tilt it slightly. Because last week was Mental Health Week, Awareness Week. But this is a bit about my mental health and how having an SEN children has impacted me. A few weeks ago, I had to go, my doctor referred me to see like the first response mental health sort of team, because where I'm on the on so much medication, he couldn't put me on any more medication. He didn't feel comfortable, so he wanted some further advice, and they wanted me to sort of have this bit of an assessment. And this is quite difficult to do, a difficult video, but I feel it's an important one. They went through everything that I go through and how I feel and how life's impacting, how do I feel happy, and it must be stressful doing all these things and putting up with that, all the sort of things you always get asked, and you have to score how you feel. And my score came out quite low, really, or should I say quite high, as if I've got my anxiety and I felt very low and a bit depressed sort of thing. But it sort of started because where everything starts to get on top of you. I have done a few videos, but Jay, a few months ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, probably isn't even as long as that, had a really, really bad time and wouldn't go out of the house. The anxiety was so high, she wouldn't go out of the house. Jay just wanted to be with me. Wherever I was, Jay was behind me and wanted me to sit, spend time with her, or just sit in, and always wanted me to go out to do anything. Wouldn't do anything on her own, but didn't like to be left at the house on her own either, and really wasn't safe to be left at the house on her own. So that put quite a lot of pressure on me, because the demands of not going out sometimes can be really hard, because staying in the same house, it gets very overwhelming. You've gone past boring, you just feel like you're trapped. And I felt like I was trapped wherever I went. It was making me really, really low. And then it makes you tired. And things were just getting on top of me. It was just getting harder and harder. And also there's a combination of pain, and that causes stress. So all these things, and having to constantly fight for the children, because for the last year, 18 months, has been quite difficult for us we've been fighting for a lot of different services for our children, all at different times. It's like, all had different fights and different things that need to be done. Even though Joe is quite happy where he is and doing what he is at the moment, he's had really bad times. Not because of anything, it's just because the funding of areas, the funding that's available, and the just what is available in each area, it just made it really difficult. So it has been a challenge for the last year and a half, and I'm sure a lot of you people understand that, because as SEN children, we always seem to need to fight, because whatever we need, even down to getting an ECHP assessment for some of our children, is really, really hard. I remember Jamie had to have, in years of statements, Jamie was the only one who ever had statements in our house, but he almost lost his getting an actual statement because of the lack of input put in by a school that he was at. And that sort of was really, really distressing. I found that really hard, going from near enough guaranteeing, they told me he near enough guaranteed to have a statement, to almost losing it because there wasn't the evidence of things that they tried that been requesting. So I know it's really hard to get ECHP assessments now. That's what a statement is now called. An education healthcare plan, for those of you who don't know. and that's a fight. Sometimes you have to go to appeal because they say that they don't think your child meets the criteria, or there's not enough evidence, or so fighting an appeal, getting the evidence together, getting the information from other agencies is all really difficult and time consuming. Then at each stage you can have this and all the chasing, going to meetings, constant meetings. Where I've got the 3 of them, I've got so many different meetings, hospital appointments for all of them for different things. It's just constant meetings at schools, meetings with professionals. It is ongoing, really. So it just gets a bit on top of you. Overwhelming is putting it really mildly. And then you have to face some of the things like filling in DLA forms, which are asking you questions that you do all the time. But I don't know about other people, but for me, writing down what I do each time makes me really sad, because I know what I do, but when I see it on paper, it really, really makes me sad and a bit depressed, because I just do that because I do. I know we have to write the information down so it can, they can decide whether our children deserve these things, but it's really hard to fit it in. I know some people say they find it very cathartic. I don't. I really find it the most stressful thing out of everything I have to deal with my children, is filling in DLA forms, because I know what they can't do and how difficult. I know when, I can't think of an example, that one of them is their road safety is, they're not as good, so you have to make sure they're safe crossing the road. Things like that, but writing it down in black and white on a piece of paper is so different to standing there and seeing them about to and saying, no, you need to stop, putting your hand out, or the fact that you've got a child so anxious and stressed about going to school. You've got to deal with the school issues, worry that if you don't send your child to school, that you're going to get in trouble with the educational welfare officer. But if you do, your child's going to get ill and really bad. The anxiety can turn into depression further down the line. There's so many different things that I struggle with all these things in my mind. What is right and what is wrong? Quite often my hardest struggle is finding out. It's almost like I've got to pick which child is my favourite, which I do not have a favourite before. Absolutely all love my children all the same equally. I try and split myself out equally. There will be times one gets more than another at one time, but I try and make it up another time. At another time. But you've just got these worries about their future, and how difficult things are. We have seen the really, really bad side of not getting the right diagnosis early, not getting the right support early, we've seen the impact of mental health on our child, and I'm not prepared to sort of go through it with any more children. So I am quite tough, and I will stand up for what I believe. Sometimes I find it really hard. I have to put a front on at meetings, and sometimes I just get so anxious that whatever I seem to say comes out like a load of dribble. But I'm sure somewhere along the line there is some sort of understanding. I make some sense and understanding to everyone else. But I also forget a lot of stuff while I'm talking, because the amount of medication I'm on, that makes me feel very anxious and nervous, because I feel out of control. I just sit there and I know we all say we forget things, but because of the amount of drugs on, it happens quite regularly. Halfway through conversation, I just literally forget what I was talking about, and I have no idea what I was talking about. And I find that really embarrassing. That really stresses me out. I have a lot of guilt because with my that's probably one of my biggest things, is guilt, because I feel that me having my disability has impacted their life. Maybe I'm not able to do some of the things they need or want me to do. You know, simple walks in the fresh air, run in the woods, or kick a football about. I'm not talking about those big gestures. I'm just talking about simple little things. Am I putting pressure on them by having my own disabilities? When I become ill, when I have a flare up and become ill, that causes them great anxiety and stress, which then causes me great anxiety and stress because I'm anxious because I feel guilty because I'm ill. So I keep pushing forward, and then I push longer, and then I become more ill, and then it's a vicious circle. They get anxious, and then I tend to end up getting really, really ill, and it's like my body shuts down. Twice last year it did it. I had 2 major infections. I had a really, really horrendous chest infection, which the doctor said I was very close to being admitted into hospital with, and if he knew there was any difference that they could do. And I also had an infection in I had a cyst that was infected in my neck at the same time, and I felt horrendous. But it's like my body completely says, right, you need this time to relax. You're getting really stressed. You're not resting. You're not thinking about yourself. And I had another one where I had a really bad chest infection again, and I just wasn't able to do anything. But that makes me even more anxious and stressed because I'm ill, and one of my Jay's triggers is any people being ill, people not being able to, people coming around that are ill, in case they're contagious, and make her ill, or make Jay ill, I should say, in case they make Jay ill, and seeing people be sick around her and not able to do things because they're ill. You face anger, you face a bit of resentment, and then it goes into sort of worry, and then it goes into helping, I find. But that gives me even more guilt, and the guilt is one of the biggest things I struggle with about being ill, and that affects my mental health so bad, because I'm glad I've got it, not my children, but I worry that my condition has impacted them quite a bit. It upsets me when I hear Joseph can't even remember me before I was like this. That is really hard for me. He has no memory of me without a bad back or being on crutches. Being on crutches, being in a wheelchair, he has absolutely no memory of it, which does hurt quite a lot. That makes me very, very sad, and that makes me very, very down. So guilt is a big thing. The overwhelming tiredness of sort of fighting, literally, it's just so tiring fighting for everything. And just having the power to make that next step. But I found, with the support from the GPs and being referred to this service, and I'm going to get some counselling, which I probably need, well, I know I need. Jay kept on saying you need to go and see someone, and I kept saying, don't need it, I haven't got time for that. But you have to, because we can't help our children without doing it. And the counselling is a big positive thing. Another thing I do is I'm trying to get back into doing a bit of exercise, A, for my body, because then I don't lose the mobility, and also to help with the mental, your mental health, keep your brain healthy, and you can deal with things a bit better because you don't feel so overwhelmed. Also, I found a lot of support online from different groups. I know some people don't, but there's been some particular Facebook groups that I found real support from, and there's been dark times where I know if I didn't have these people that seemed to know what we were going through, I don't know how I would have picked myself up to keep fighting, and just general friends. But the thing is, so many people don't understand what you're going through, friends and family, so that they don't always understand how to support you best. But people that know what you're going through, they just know what to do, or just know to be there if you need them without pushing, or they're there to say, come on, you can do this, go start this direction, try this way, that way didn't work, let's try this way. And they just give you the energy to get up and keep going. Anyway, I am going to be getting the help I need. They have recommended that possibly, because my pain medication is, some of it are antidepressants, because they use that as to stop the nerve endings to your brain. So they have sort of suggested that maybe some of them be jiggled around, which wouldn't affect my pain, but also wouldn't affect, but might help my mental health, to be a little bit more, support my mental health a bit more and help me feel a bit better. But I'm hoping, now I've spoken about it, that I will get, will feel better and a bit more open. We spent a lot of time, probably like a lot of you, hiding behind closed doors, not letting people in or know what was going on. Don't worry now, most people know what's going on. Just want to be that, and what we're hiding for, I can't keep to sort of lives going, live behind doors and live, life that we have in front of people. That puts so much pressure on, having to pretend to be something you're not. Just embrace your children, help them if you can, but make sure you look after yourself. Thank you for watching this video. If you have got any mental health or anxieties, or you feel low or depressed, please don't hesitate to contact your GP and ask for help. Or if you want, you can also contact some of the charities. There's Mind and Young Minds, which are both very, very good for supporting with any mental health or depressive thoughts, or any mental health difficulties. So please don't hesitate to contact them. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please put a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye bye, see you soon.